you have created that peace within you. And then Satya, Dharma, Shanti, Prem. What is Prem? Prem is love. So here we are not talking about the love for a mother to their child, or husband to a wife, or a man to a woman, but here we're talking about the absolute love, that general love that you will spread to everybody and bring about peace by spreading love. And this is my personal experience, and I've done it several times. If I come across two people fighting or having a misunderstanding of fighting, and all I do is that, from my heart, I just release love, love, love. I say within myself, not loudly, just love, love, love. If I find somebody unhappy, I will say love, 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 nicely. And suddenly things calm down and there is peace. And those two people will stop fighting. It could be in the street, it could be a child is crying, the child is crying, you're in a supermarket, a child is crying, and you say, "Oh, the poor baby. I don't know what's wrong with the baby, but at least you say love, love, love." And maybe you might have to say 3 times or 10 times, but you're doing your shopping from the putting filling your trolley, but you still say love, 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 and you will see slowly things calm down. Same thing, you're driving on the autoroute, you're in a big hurry and you want to overtake, and there's slow car in front of you. Believe me, try this for yourself. You don't have to believe me, rather. Flash, you flash your light and say, "Hey, move, 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 move." But the person there might not even hear you, or will be definitely won't hear you on the highway. But the person is just going at his own speed. And the more you do, the more you flash lights and you ask him to move, the person will get annoyed and will all the more slow down or something. So try this. Just say love, 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 love. I've tried this several times. I used to work 50 kilometers away from Geneva and used to drive Geneva more back every day. And sometimes I would come across some people, and it works each time. And each time I have to laugh, saying, "Oh God, love, that proves every time that it is working. You can, you can win. You can win the love. You can win the world with your love." So I would tell you, definitely try this with your boss. Sometimes if you find that your boss is very angry and you don't know, and you feel it's not your fault, well, even if it is your fault, but you still say love, love, love in your mind, and the boss is talking, and you just in your mind you say love, love, love. Okay, some people might utter the name of their spiritual master, but if love is equally important, because again I have experimented and I have succeeded in doing that. Just say love, 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 and that person's anger will slowly calm down. And it's so beautiful to see this. It's so beautiful to see how nicely this works. So peace, when we say peace, is what one seeks, but it can never be secured from the outside world. So the more rich and power you have, it's not going to bring you peace. It's the peace comes only from within. So again, my spiritual master says, "I want peace," and he says, "I" is ego. So if you remove ego, want is desire. So you remove all your desires and running after things. You remove all that, and only peace will remain. It's not easy to do this, but it's only constant practice. I mean, it's the same thing as any language. When you started learning English, it was not easy. When you started learning French or any other language, it was not easy, but with practice it comes. Same thing, when you were a child, you could not walk. Slowly, your parents helped you to walk, and you can walk now. But it did not come naturally. So again, so just let us quickly look at the enemies of man. So enemies of men, we are not talking about country or the other, or neighboring country or that country or that country. No, the enemies of men are anger, lust. By man, I mean man and woman, of course. Anger, lust, envy, greed, pride, hatred, attachment, fear, and anxiety. These are the enemies, and we need to fight these enemies. But fight, unfortunately, you cannot fight these enemies with a sword or with a gun that killing these. No, you cannot kill your anger or envy or greed with a gun or a knife. The only method of killing these enemies is the human values. You see, for instance, anger. Anger is like, as they say, that it is like the acid. It destroys within more than it destroys outside. So we need to get rid of this anger all the time, or envy. When you are jealous of someone or something, nothing is going to change. Oh, my neighbor has got a bigger car, it's more beautiful, I wish I had it, I'm so jealous, I must do something bad to him so that I feel at peace and I feel that I'm getting something. But that is again envy, greed combined together. And same thing, pride. You walk on air and say, I am better. But why, when do you start saying I'm better than you? It's because when you feel I'm not better than you, then I need to show my something, I'm better than you. So, I'll try and say, well, maybe I have 1 franc more than you, so I'm better than you. Or I have my car is bigger than yours, or my house is bigger than yours, or whatever. My job is better than you. So we all human beings, when they feel they're not at peace, that is when they will try and create this kind of ego and trying to say that they're better, and that pride will somehow or the other come. And then when you think about it, all that pride, a person goes around with that pride that I'm beautiful, I'm very good looking. Over time, what happens? Every single human being grows old. And the beauty that you had once when you were a teenager and 20 years old, by the time you reach a certain age, all that starts disappearing. And that's when, you know, we forget how proud we were. So again, I come back to my original statement that when we teach these values to the children, they realize that they should grow up in normal surroundings and grow up normally without the need to feel proud of something, and not have that greed. And also, and I used to always tell the children that, you know be a good human being. That is your value. Wearing, Adidas or whatever mark will not make you a better human being. Important thing is to be a good human being. And same thing, attachment. We were born without anything, and we will die without anything. So why the attachment? My car, my money, my bank account, my house, all that attachment. So again, that attachment, all these are enemies, our enemies. And the only way we can get rid of is to understand the human values. So in order to understand, to control our emotions, anger, lust, achieve a constant state of peace and joy in life, we need to understand how our minds work. And as my master says, the mind is the instrument by which man can attain liberation, though he has now turned it into an instrument for bondage. So he had said that, your mind is like the key. You turn it clockwise, it locks, and you get attached to the uh, whatever, everything in the world. And you turn the key the other way around, and you get liberation. So it's all in your hand. So mind is another name for a bundle of desires. And these desires, they keep the mind wandering. And if we can reduce the desires, then the mind will calm down. And when the mind calms down, it brings about a lot of peace. So um, we create habits over time. We create habits because we have a thought. And when we repeat the same thing over and over again, that habit is formed. And it takes a lot of effort, takes a lot of effort to break a habit. To break a habit, we don't always realize that, this habit I've created and it is taking taking me on a negative path. So instead of that, if we become aware every single day of these human values, then our mind gets focused on those values and we work on it. And believe me, it doesn't come automatically, it doesn't come overnight. We need to work on it on a daily basis, and daily awareness is what we need to do. So, at this point, does anybody have a question? Would you like to ask a question? And maybe you can raise your hand, unmute your mic, and you know, ask a question. Otherwise, I can continue.
Sir, may I ask a question at this time, please?
Yes, sure.
My name is Trevane Pal. I'm a retired physicist, and I've become very interested in this philosophy and reading. And as you've gone through the introduction, pits which I know I have fallen into and others in the context of human values and the culture we live in, for example, work culture, there are two related aspects. One is that if I'm witness to something which I consider on my scale to be wrong, and I try to interfere in that, which may lead to a conflict situation, am I doing necessarily wrong? Because my values tell me if I see injustice happening in front of me, according to my moral standards, I should try and stop that, even if it doesn't affect me directly. And I suppose behind that is a desire for some reward in terms of recognition. So, what I'm saying is, are these values which I think sometimes maybe, how do you say, constitutional in a human being, are they wrong? How does one treat them? Thank you.
No, what you're saying, if I understood right, is that there's a conflict situation, and then uh, it doesn't affect you directly, but you feel that it is wrong, and should you be intervening?
Yes,
Is that what your question is basically?
yes,
Yes. So there again, I would say that God always says that I have given you the intelligence to judge. So if you find let me give you an example, and then we can look at exactly what you were saying. So here you are in a bank, and the robbers come in with guns. That's very wrong. And they are shooting in the air, and they're telling the teller that, okay, give us all your money. And everybody's certain, everybody is forced to lie down on the floor. And now at this point in time, what do? You do like what they do in the films, that uh, if you watch Hindi films, you have Salman Khan, who is, with big muscles, and then he starts fighting, and one man can, fight with 10 people, and they're all lying on the floor or hurt and all that. No, unfortunately, we are not at that level. We don't have that ability. So what do? Uh, at that point, if you start shouting and saying you guys are wrong, that's the time when those guys will immediately take a gun and shoot you. And you do not want that. So what do? And that's the time when you put in your love. You put your love into action. And from your heart, imagine that a strong beam of light is coming, and it is falling on on the robbers or the gang of robbers or individuals. This again, by the way, is tried and tested method, and you can save the situation because people, these people will somehow will be affected by the love, because you see many of these terrorists right from very small age, they are brought up in hatred and they are taught to hate, and the more you hate, the more powerful they become. So in the bank, they're all people are all lying on the floor with their heads up, hands up in the air, and they're all hating these terrorists. So the more you hate, the stronger they become. But the moment you start giving love to them, um, uh, slowly they will start becoming weaker. And I'll give you the exact example. There was a lady who was traveling from UK to the US to New York, London to New York, and she was on a flight. And suddenly, this was I think in '95 or something, and a terrorist suddenly stood up.
Tabii. Ah.
Maybe others can switch off the mic. Yes. Okay. So then, what happened was that. Suddenly the terrorist stood up, and then he was saying that he wanted to hijack the plane. And then this lady, her name is Phyllis Crystal, and she's written a book. And this was a story that she shared in her book. And she was saying that she immediately talked to her spiritual guru and said, "Please help, please help." And what should I do? And the guru and everybody was down, and the guru said, "Send love." And then she said, "What do you mean, send love to a terrorist? How can I do that?" And then this one, uh, again, she gets a message from her guru that send love. And then she says, "Okay, I will give him your love." And then she starts sending love from her heart on the terrorist directly. And after maybe 3 or 4 minutes, suddenly, like the terrorist looked around as if he had been attacked, and he could not understand what was happening. But that hatred made him strong, and love made him weak, and he just kind of slumped, and kind of he did not have that same strength. And then immediately the others got up and then overpowered him, and then he was tied. And then, okay, when they landed in New York, there he was, handed over, and so the crisis was averted. So that is what we need to realize, that where we can, if there's an argument, and then we can say, "Look, guys, let us bring peace. What is the problem?" And then try and solve things rationally. But some cases you can do, but in some cases where you can't, then let love be the power, the love which is a big human value, that be, that has to surface. So we have to have that discrimination, really, that God has given us that intelligence of discrimination, whether we should intervene or physically, or do we intervene in our minds. And both ways would be effective, because you are trying to solve a problem, and you would be able to solve the problem. So it depends upon case by case. So that is, really up to you to judge. So we talked about the 5 human values. So again, if anyone has a question, please go ahead. So we talked about the things, the love part, and we must realize that it's our subconscious that controls the superconscious and all that. And the great, and the master says the greatest of the virtues is love, and love is the basis of character. And that uh, people here, you know we are in this age. I personally like to call it the microwave age, where you want immediate results, immediate. Not We don't have time for things to hatch. Immediately want it, eat it, and that's it. So we have to wait for we have to, sorry about that, we have to try and understand and build on this love issue, that slowly it gets better. So here, as I mentioned earlier, that love, yeah, sorry, I'd lost the thought. That yes, what people expect is that as soon as they do something, they want a reward immediately. So I start practicing human values today, and I expect the results immediately today. But no, give it time. You know, how was the human being formed? We took 9 months before we were born. Same thing, an egg that is created and hatching takes time. So when we were born, we could not talk, we could not walk, and it took time for us to realize that. So let time also be a good master. Let us let us have that patience and not expect immediately, despite living in that microwave age, that I want this immediately. No, let us wait for it to happen. No, there is no shortcut to salvation. There is no shortcut to any of these things. So we slowly we need to work on those issues. And so, you know, when we are in the presence of a saint, we feel a lot of peace. Why is that? Have we ever considered, when you meet a knowledgeable person, you feel immensely at peace, and you don't realize what it is, but it is that it's not overnight. That person, the holy person, has built it over time, and he has created that love energy within himself. And it is that vibration of purity and love that we receive when we are along with this particular person or particular, you know, realized soul. So as I had mentioned earlier, love is the greatest weapon in the world, and it can change the hearts. It can bring about the change. So that does not require that we go and we make protests along the street and start shouting and screaming headlines. We can all work in a group or individually and bring about that peace by just spreading love. And I'm not talking about, you know, sitting 5 hours and in meditation and spreading love. Even when you have 5 spare minutes and you're traveling in the bus or you're walking, just imagine that love is just emanating. It's coming out from you, and it is just spreading, because love is the undercurrent of all human values, and we can all be linked together. When we have that love in our heart, the conscious mind will be raised to great heights, eventually merging with a superconscious mind. So we we must be aware of this thing. And if the moment we become aware of this, our outlook towards life is will change, and we will feel more and more over time at peace. And at some point, you know, stop and say, how was I 5 years ago? How was I 10 years ago? And that we're not talking about how much money I had in the bank, or how many cars I had, or how many houses I had. No, how was I a person 5 years ago, 10 years ago? So we are not competing. We are just trying to improve ourselves. Many of us believe in the theory of reincarnation. And reincarnation is what? It's just becoming better and better in each lifetime until we become so pure that we merge with that superconscious. So that Atma into Paramatma. So there we are not talking about riches or gaining material wealth, but we are talking about how have I become a better person? And that should be the thing that should come naturally on a regular basis, because you don't want to, you know, now you are 20 years old, and by the time you are 75, you don't want to say, oh, I never made any progress. So, and progress, quite often, people use different methods, like they use prayers or prayer beads or many other meditation, many other things. Or some people will say, no, I cannot sit quietly, but I want to go and serve the people. And they do that, and they find many different ways of bettering themselves. And these are all different ways of, human values. So if we talk of again human values, let's look at it from something totally, a different concept. You know, what do how do we see things? Now, most of you know about enough science to know that we use our eyes to receive pictures from outside. What is it that enters our eyes? Is it the picture itself? No, the picture does not enter the eye. The answer is just light. So, what is light? Light is just electromagnetic energy. So, if only light is entering my eyes, then why do we see evil? Because there's no evil in the light that enters the mind. So, if we use logic, if no evil enters the eye and we see evil, then there must be somewhere that evil exists within us. And we always use ourselves as a standard, that if I do this thing, that is my standard and that is the correct. If anybody does something slightly different, then that person is wrong and that should be condemned. If somebody does something better than me, mm, yes, okay, that person is doing better than me. But again, do I see it and be just happy with what is happening or what that person has done? Or do I feel jealous? Again, it's good for always on a regular basis, we judge ourselves, and we must be brave and accept this fact so we can conquer the enemy that is within. So if we see the evil, then say, hang on, I see evil. Does that mean that I have that evil within? On what grounds am I judging this person? Okay, logically or by law of the country says killing somebody is bad, but yes, that I find is evil. Can I change something? No, I cannot go and overpower, but I can change that person by just sending love, because maybe that person reacted the way he did because he was lacking love and he did it out of self defense. So let us do that. Now we come to the next point. What about sound? We hear through our ears. So if our sight and hearing should be filled with love, then there's no question that we'll see only good things and hear good things. But what happens is that the sound waves entering in our ears, that also is just a sound wave. It has no good or bad. So there also we hear things which again we immediately judge. Is it good? No, not good. So we use our own standards for judgment. So what do we do? And at some point, we have to say, yes, I realize what is happening and let me work on that. And as I said, giving love. And then also, I personally find that uh, I use each, each and every person I come across as my guru, as my teacher, and say, okay, if I find somebody is very nice, very friendly, very helpful, and I see what are the good points of that person and how can I emulate, not copy in a bad way, but try and become a better person. So I judge myself, say, okay, that person is like that, and I must also try and create that kind of understanding and that kind of love. And then you come across somebody who, as per your standards, your judgment, is not quite the right thing, and the person is doing something that's bad. So there also I analyze that person, and no, I will not hate that person, because that's not my job to judge or to hate that person. But I use that person as a guru, saying, ah, but you see, when that person was speaking like this, people did not like it, and I must make sure I should not be like that person. So I use that logic also whenever I'm watching movies, and we often come across these, Bollywood movies. You always have the hero and the villain, and so I look at that and say, okay, here this guy was doing this and that, and so that's the analysis I do every time, and every time it is a learning process, not just entertainment. Be it a newspaper that you read, a storybook that you read, and you create your own judgment for your own improvement, not for any other things. And we talked about love, we talked about peace, we talked about dharma, duties, and doing the right thing, but also peace. Peace is not just absence of war, but peace within, and that is something that we have to create within ourselves, and that takes time. And you need to all work on that truth, on the human values. And again, non-violence is not just absence of violence, but means avoiding causing harm to anyone by thought, word, or deed. And I always tell the children that every night before going to sleep, they have to make an effort to ask for forgiveness. And hope something has gone wrong with mine. What happened? Okay, that's better. Sorry. Yeah, so I always ask them to say a short prayer before going to sleep, ask for forgiveness that if I've done any harm to anyone through my thought, word, or deed, knowingly or unknowingly, through my hands or my feet or my eyes, watch out, through my eyes or through my ears or through my thoughts, please forgive me. So that way you realize that anything that you've done and hurt somebody, you're asking for forgiveness, and that will bring not to anyone else, because that other person probably did not even realize that, but it, you realize it, and it'll bring peace within you. So violence again is not the absence of violence, but also violence that we can cause. And this is here when we come to all the environment. We can cause violence to our environment. We can cause damage by, maybe to the outside or even to ourselves. When we eat the wrong foods or eat, or smoke or whatever, we are doing damage internally. And then, by practicing violence, to not being aware of the environment, we are also being violent to our planet Earth or Mother Earth. So there again, we have to become aware of our violence, our being violent. So there it brings about a different concept as what can I do to make sure that I'm non-violent even to Mother Earth. So here, at least in Switzerland, we are given this possibility of, collecting newspapers and not throwing them in the garbage, or sorting out um, garbage which is incinerated and garbage which is used as compost. So we do all that. Again, not for anyone else, but it is for our own selves, because we feel that should be done. That is the right way of doing it. So again, I stop here, and we have a little more time. So please come up with questions if you have something that you would like me to clarify. If you have a comment.
Arunji,
Yes.
yeah, Mr. Naginder. Yeah, please proceed.
Who's speaking? Me? Okay.
Yeah, you.
Oh, thank you. I lovely to listen to you, Arun, and thank you. You have been reading, one of the many people reading my talks, which were 21 talks, which have come in the, I've been posting for the last 21 weeks, one a week.
Yes, I've
Um,
seen them on LinkedIn. Very nice, very
Link
impressive.
somewhere. Thank you very much. It's very kind of you. And what you're saying is very valid, very correct with respect to love. My concern or my uh, somewhat worry is all this love is from one human to another human to improve our relationships. You have near the end started talking about our planet Earth. I agree. But to become a better person, we have failed since old times. As a whole, as an individual, yes. Love as an individual towards another individual or a group of people works. But towards the earth as a whole, it has not worked. Uh, what am I? This is okay, human being to human being. But what am I in the overall nature? What is my role in nature? Can that love be transposed as powerfully as to nature as we have trying to promote within human beings? Uh, the reason is very simple. Our planet, well, if you're talking about human to human, your arguments are perfectly correct. But if you're talking about human to nature, we fail totally, right through history. All the religions have tried to only promote human relationships because we are not good. We are very selfish. Now, coming to nature, we are worse. At the individual level, Switzerland might be saving, sorting out rubbish, but overall, human being wants to develop, increase the commerce, even give, like Bill Gates, give more charity. But where does this all come from? It comes from nature. Nature is capital. And we are taking away that capital, and the earth is very sick. That's why the title of my talks is Who Has Made the Earth Sick? Now, what role can love, individual love, play in improving the nature? I know I've seen pictures of people hugging tree trunks. That's their love. But no, it's more than that. How we stop expansion. That's where love has to come in. I don't know how you feel about it.
Yeah. Okay. So let me answer that with two little stories. But before that, a lot of efforts are being made. And again, we come across people who are very much aware, like you, Mr. Semi, but also there are people who are not aware of this thing. So at this point in time, if we go on spreading our love slowly, we hope that someday these people who are doing things not in a good way will be awakened, and they will stop doing what the bad that they are doing. But a little story. This was again a tried and tested experiment in Malaysia. There was a field, and just without any logic, it was divided into two, and the same things were planted. Okay, on one side of the field, they put music, non-stop, nice music, and with the words love, 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 love. And that was just, it went on 24 hours a day. And then on the other side of the field, uh, not so good music and insults and all that, or sometimes nothing at all. So this was an experiment that was done, and they found that the part of the field where they had this good words or the Gayatri Mantra, all those things, the crop doubled. And this side, the crop was poor. So it has in if you like that we have that possibility of improving nature. We have that possibility of affecting the earth. It just requires a bit of an effort. But at some point, we stop and we say, hang on, but I'm all by myself. What can I do? Here, I give you another story. There was a young man who was walking along the beach early in the morning, and the tide had gone out, and there were a lot of shellfish. Many of you might have read this story, but there were a lot of shellfish that were trapped on the sands because the water went away and they were trapped. And then these shellfish would die as soon as the sun would come out because they need water to survive. So this young man was picking up the shellfish and throwing into the water. He kept on throwing. Another man passes and said, young man, what are you doing? And he said, look, this shellfish will die. And he said, young man, do you realize that there are thousands and thousands of these fish trapped on the sand? What difference can you make? So he picked up one fish, threw it into the water, and he said, I made a difference to that one. So yes, sometimes we feel that overwhelmed by the amount of work that needs to be done, the amount of goodness that is required on the earth. But then, if everybody did their part, this world would be heaven. But everybody is not doing that part. But does that mean, as I had mentioned earlier, that if that person is not doing, should I also not do? No, I care about what I do. So that is my point of view. So somebody has just asked, Mr. Mukundan has asked, we are in a fast moving world. People have very little time for themselves and others. How do we seek their attention, gain trust, spread love, and create a world of unity for all? So there again, I agree 100% when I said we are in a microwave world. So we are in a fast moving world, and there's very little time for everybody. How do we seek their attention and gain trust, spread love, and create a world of unity for all? It is not easy, and it doesn't come overnight. But time, we have very little time. But can we not make time? Make time, for instance, when you go to sleep, before you doze off to sleep, you should not, there are people who do that, but not a very good habit, that you switch on the TV and you fall in front of the TV. No, instead of doing that, switch off the TV a few minutes before, and when you are in bed, spend a little time contemplation and being at peace and having good thoughts. And what happens is this, when you switch on one light bulb, it spreads light. When you light one candle, it spreads light. So I work on that principle that I cannot change the world. I can change myself, but I cannot change the whole world. So I cannot create a world of unity for all. There are many, as Mr. Sami is written this beautiful book where he's done illustrations of Guru Nanak. Guru Nanak tried, Prophet Muhammad has tried, Jesus Christ has tried, and Rama, Krishna, Sai Baba, everybody has tried. But the world where we would love to have is, like heaven on earth, has not happened. But does that mean that we'll stop teaching them? When you have a child and the child cannot walk, you try 2 times, 3 times, and the child cannot walk, do you give up? No, we continue. We continue. We continue teaching the child. Why? Because we have faith in our child, that our child will definitely walk. And when our child, the child when he's born does not speak, and until for 1 year the child does not speak, does that mean that we are totally silent toward the child because the child does not speak? No, we continue talking to the child, and slowly the child starts talking and walking. So we cannot change the world, but we can slowly work on an individual level. And if every individual works, then there is a fantastic possibility of a complete change. So we have a few minutes, 2 minutes left. If somebody would, I hope I've answered the question of Mr. Mukundan. Thank you, Mr. Mukundan. He's saying thank you for your response.
Arunji?
Yes.
Yeah, I think we have reached the 60-minute slot. It's very interesting. Thank you very much, basically. And I wish to ask a question, but the time has barred. We'll continue in the next session. I have a question.
Yes.
And maybe we'll finish this thing with my question, probably, if everybody agrees. I see the interrelationship between truth, love, peace, and non-violence. But Dharma never remains the same over the period. I feel this way. Between Ramayana and the Ramayana period and Mahabharata period itself, Dharma changes. So, and when you wanted to adopt one small principle of Dharma, how we can relate it with other truth, love, peace, non-violence. Because Dharma for me may not be the same for somebody living in North Pole.
Yeah, definitely. I started by saying that dharma for each individual is different. A dharma for, even in a couple, the dharma of a man is different from the dharma of his wife, or dharma of a father is different from the dharma of a child. The dharma of a student is different from the dharma of a teacher. So
Exactly.
it changes. But then at that point in time, we just have to, or rather, I just look at it this way, that what is my duty? What should I be doing? And what am I doing not right, and making an effort to correct my mistakes? Because that is, after all, we are born alone and we die alone. So while having love for everybody, we still have to develop ourselves within. That is my take in it. And I thank sincerely Kalacharam for this organizing this, Pashupati and Damayanti making this effort, and it was very nice. And I'm happy that so many people joined, and so many people are sending messages. So it's very nice. And again, let us meet soon, and we can continue talking. And I think this is the only way where we can share ideas and see how we can improve just ourselves, individuals.
Thank you, Arunji. And
Thank you.
yeah, we hope to meet you again, all of the participants here, and especially we would like to hear more and more from Arunji, and especially on these valuable topics. We have a different dimension from Mr. Naginder. So I welcome these type of things, and I request all of people to give more views, and Arunji will be definitely will be come with the very best examples and explanation, which also gives an eye opener for many of us. I hope. Over to Tamindi, madam.
Thank you very much, Arunjit. This is really a great start of 2021 for many of us, because last year we faced a lot of hard time, and people don't know what to do, staying at home, So this type of messages will definitely help each and everyone. So thank you very much. And we really look forward to more sessions. So we will make the announcement. We will meet with you, and we will definitely spread the message, and hope you all will join again in the next sessions. And yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. So maybe, Damayanti, if you can just, there are so many messages and I haven't read, maybe there are some questions also. So if you can...
I'm copying, yeah, I'm taking the messages. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So again, thank you everybody for your kindness, and
you,
very
Arun
happy
bhai.
to be with you all.
Thank
Arun
you.
bhai.
Have a good
Thank you, Arun
evening.
bhai. Thank
Have
you,
a
Arun
good
bhai.
evening.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you
you.
all. Thank
Thank
you.
you, Arun
Thank
bhai.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Arun.
Thank you, Arun bhai.
Thank you, Sai. Thank you.
Thank you, Arun bhai.
Madam, you have to stop recording.